be holding criminals, or are we actually holding just undocumented residents? And then lastly, a little dialogue around we heard a lot of a narrative here around mental health services delivery. In particular that 1 in 4 individuals are affected by some mental health illness. And in the United States alone, 42 million people suffer from some form of mental illness, which equates to about 18% of the population. So clearly, we need to fund mental health services in a very big way. This is not a small issue plaguing our communities. So if you can speak to those 3 items, and I have some other follow-up questions for you.
Sure, I'd be happy to. Thank you for the question. I actually had a conversation with the author of the bill, Senator Hertzberg, last week, personal conversation about his bill and bail reform, and I told him it would not make a bit of difference in Contra Costa County, and here's why. We already use a very aggressive release policy for those people that are booked into our jail. Now remember, I have to take everyone that comes in. I don't get to choose who comes into the intake center in Martinez. Every police agency from Richmond to Pittsburgh and beyond books their arrests into our intake. We use also a evidence-based process to determine who can be released and whether they're a threat, and if they're not, they are released. And in some cases put on one of the largest custody alternative programs in the state. We have over 500 people on our custody alternative where they wear ankle bracelets, they come in for periodic testing, etc. So our whole goal is to get people out of custody. And when you look at the numbers, for example, in 2015, we booked into Martinez 26,612 people, okay, from all various agencies. And then our average daily population today, those that remain in custody, is 1,400. So the vast majority of people are released either on their own recognizance, or if they post bail, or if they have they sign a notice to appear. Many of the people that come in our custody are remanded to us by judges who say, we want this person in custody, and oftentimes it's because they have failed to appear on other matters. In that case, we will hold them in custody until their matter is resolved. But I just want to make sure everyone understands, we've actually received awards for our very robust release program here in Contra Costa County. And what I said to Senator Hertzberg is, I said, you may have just the unintended consequence when you throw it to a judge. Because now a judge may say, I don't want to take the risk, I'm going to remand that person into custody, and the numbers may stay the same or even go up. So there may be counties where it would be beneficial, but I don't think it'll make a significant difference in our counties. And by the way, as far as the type of people that we have pre-trial, we don't have low-level offenders, as I heard one of my colleagues here on the dais say. Let me give you an example of who's in custody right now. We have 27 arson suspects, 200 vehicle theft suspects, 62 grand larceny, 240 aggravated assault, 239 facing charges for breaking into people's homes and stealing their goods, 222 are awaiting trial for robbery. That's where they put a gun in your face or they threaten you and steal your personal property. Over 40 are facing active rape charges, and we have 205 in jail tonight, facing murder charges. So it is not the case that we are holding low-level offenders. One, we have never done that, and 2, we don't have capacity to do that. So that's just false information. These are the actual numbers as of today. Now, as far as the ICE beds go, we have a contract that was formed in 1992 with the United States Marshal Service to hold marshals detainees. Along the way, ICE joined that contract, and for many years we've had ICE detainees in an unused dormitory module in West County. It's a little bit disheartening when I hear people say that this new jail is just to build more space for Trump's immigration policies and detainees. It's absolutely nonsense. Not a single detainee would be placed in the new facility. They are only exclusively authorized to be in our dorm, in which they have keys to their own room, there's common areas, there's common bathroom areas, plus we allow them frequent contact with their visitors who typically, the families live in the Bay Area, and their attorneys, and we make sure that they have access to all the programming that they want to access: education, GED, English as a second language, faith access. So ironically, and if Mr. Saidi was here, the public defender, he would tell you that the defendants and the detainees who are in custody want to be here. If they have to be anywhere, nobody wants to be in custody, they want to be in West County because it's like a college campus out there. And by the way, I'll extend an offer right now to anybody who would like to physically come out and visit and do a walkthrough and see our facility. I'd love to have you any day. So that offer stands. Now, as far as the ICE detainees themselves, geez, these are just the bus boys and the cleaning ladies and things. No, that's not the case at all. What happens is that ICE brings to us the people that are here undocumented who also have committed a crime. Let me give you a random sampling of what we're talking about. Possession of drugs for sales, stalking, assault with a deadly weapon and grand theft, assault with a deadly weapon, corporal injury to a spouse with serious injury, a gang member affiliation, corporal injury on a spouse, and possession of narcotics for one case, carjacking, again controlled substance possession and sales, robbery, homicide, battery on a police officer, child endangerment and inflicting corporal punishment on a child, attempted murder, embezzlement, assault with a deadly weapon, and etc. So when ICE brings us someone, it's not just a status violation that they're here because they have not completed the application process to be a citizen. It's because they're here undocumented and have committed new crimes while they're here. So that's a different scenario from what you may be hearing. With regard to mental health, we provide what we can now as far as mental health from the nursing staff there and the doctors that are part of the county hospital system. This is intended really to be intensive mental health for those inmates who don't have access to it. Properly designed therapy rooms, more frequent access with their therapist and the inmate. Because I do agree, we want to provide the services if they're with us. Of course, services should be provided outside of the jail environment. I get that. But once again, I don't get to choose. If they're remanded into my custody, I at least want to be able to continue a meaningful treatment regime with that individual so that they get out when they're eventually released, and most are, with the services that they need, and that we ensure a warm handoff to the community for continuing treatment. So it's easy to be kind of the boogeyman as the sheriff, but the facts are we're doing a lot now. And then lastly, with regard to services not cells is a group out there. You should know that your taxpayer dollars now in Contra Costa, you spend $2.269, almost $2.27 billion on services to people in our county. Public health services, veteran services, housing services, social services, behavioral health, child support, conservatorship, the hospital, etc. The general fund contribution to that is over $239 million of actual Contra Costa tax dollars. Much of it is reimbursed by the feds. So for them to say we want more services, not cells, okay, that's great, but taxpayers are already kicking in over $239 million, $2 billion total, to a county of 1 million residents. 80% of it goes to West County, specifically Richmond and El Cerrito. That's fine, but the reality is there's a lot of services out there. This grant is limited only for public safety, jail expansion, or improvement, and that's why we applied for it.
Thank you, Sheriff. Just to follow